Hello, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, I am not getting you on camera for some reason.
I see a camera in green here. Do I click that?
Yeah.
See what happens.
There you go.
Oh, I'm so...
There we go.
I'm so sorry.
I couldn't believe. I was like, wait a minute, why am I not being able to get through on the call? So I changed it, and I was able to get through on the. I said, let me try and just do a telephone call. Oh, that was perfect. Right. You tipped it down. You should have tipped it back up, because you're chopping off the top of your head. There we. Okay. Yeah, you're chopping off the top of your head.
Okay. You like that better?
There you go. That's better. Right there.
Okay.
Good, okay. Good, good. Okay, now I can show you, Ba. Hey. Say good morning.
Guten Tag, mein Freund.
Oh, you had to go there, We're into Senegal right now. I think French would have been far more appropriate, Mike.
Bonjour, mes amis.
Bonjour, mes amis, messieurs. Comment ça va?
Ah, c'est bon, as the kid says.
C'est très bien, avec plaisir. C'est tout de suite ma. Mike, it's nice to have you back in full swing. I know you hadn't been feeling well. You have been going through some challenges, and we had technical stuff. And you're feeling 100 again, are you?
I don't know about 100, but I'm at least 5%.
Yeah, 5%.
Yes.
Oh man.
Well, you have something. You get a point in your life. You have so much to do, and even though your doctor recommends that you slow down, just take it easy because you're not 25 anymore. That reality is very difficult to accept. I'll tell you.
I hear you.
But if you're born to do certain things, and you can't even change a tire at 150, you say, well, what can I do? They say, do what you've been doing to last this long. So this is the reason why I think I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still changing tires.
Well, no, I can't change a tire.
You can't change a tire?
No, I tried. The car went flatter because they said, take your hands off me, please, sir. But I keep trying no matter what, though.
Well, there you go. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
So look, we're gonna introduce you because we need to so much of, once again, our history, our story is not being told by us, and we haven't heard a lot since the days of do people remember Sammy Davis Jr., Satchmo, a lot of these early actors and Hollywood icons.
Yes.
I'm gonna start there with you because you're a person who not only is gonna share with us about yourself, but what you entered. What was the game, the inspiration? Who was there when you entered this world called Hollywood? Who were those people? Who are some of the people we've forgotten, Mike?
Well, when I first started, it was back in 1948. And that's a long time for many of you before you were born. And I was on radio and television in Philadelphia, all right? And the television show I was on was a Paul Whiteman TV Teen Club. And that was, he discovered Bing Crosby. Does anyone remember Bing Crosby?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I was on Paul Whiteman's show every Saturday. And on Sunday, I was on the Children's Hour, and for CBS. And there was a national show. And it was all young kids, of course. So I got a chance to deal with a microphone on Sunday. And on Saturday evenings, I was in front of the camera for the Paul Whiteman TV Teen Club. So I got a big opportunity to exercise my talents from those two sources. And then finally, I won the Stars of Tomorrow contest in Philadelphia. It was sponsored by the Philadelphia Bulletin. And that show had Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Hazel Scott, Sugar Child Robinson, Dinah Shore, Johnny Ray, and of course Ed Sullivan. I know them, but the generation today don't remember or know about Ed Sullivan, who was the toast of the town of star for many years.
Yes.
And he hosted the show, and the Philadelphia Orchestra was our main music buddy, so I had the chance to sing with the orchestra, the Philadelphia Orchestra, after I won. And then after that, I came to Hollywood, and Hollywood introduced me to a whole new world. Philadelphia was not Hollywood, because in Philadelphia we didn't have hills or mountains or things like that. So when I got to Hollywood and I saw all those mountains and hills, I said, my God, how the heck will I live in the hills where those, I pictured elephants and, jungle animals and things like that. Of course it wasn't, except for deer in the mornings, early in the morning. That's what California is all about. But I was introduced to this new world, and the new world introduced me to the studios, and got me, I was going to USC, and USC everybody knows because I became, a Trojan in a marching band, getting opportunities, learning, doing things that people, young guys at that time, this was in the early 50s, after I had left and graduated from high school and came across the country, and I was chased by the KKK, from Richmond, Indiana. They wanted to kill me. They firebombed my dorm room, and they put me in a truck at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, the dean did, and so hit me in the truck and took me to the Greyhound bus. They made a deal with USC that I come there, and I went on the Greyhound bus. They took my classmates. The reason why the KKK was after me because I became the first black president of the class in Richmond, Indiana in 1951. All right? Or 50, yeah, that was it. And then they got me to the Greyhound bus and got me to Los Angeles. And,
wow. So
I was mentally and physically, I was wounded.
So
I felt it.
So basically, you were in a space where you were fine in the school all that time.
Oh yes, it was a Quaker school.
But the minute you took a leadership role,
yes,
that's when they came after you.
Yes, we had a homecoming parade.
Okay.
And all the girls, all the white girls, and everybody flanking me on every side, marching down Market Street. And suddenly, we got bottles thrown at us, and bats and produce and things of that sort. It was a horrible experience. So the guys in my class got me quickly back to the campus, to the dean's house, and the dean says, put him in the attic, hide him in the attic. I have a bad feeling about this. And good thing that they did that because they firebombed my dorm room. And when that happened, the dean said, we got to get him away from them. It's going to be a very bad night.
Wow.
And so they hid me. They kept me hidden in the dean's attic. And early, about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they put me in the back of a truck, in a campus truck, and hid me there. And the It got me to the arena, got me to the Greyhound bus depot, and that's how I spent a couple of days on the bus getting to LA. I was met by representatives of USC, and they said, "You're going to be all right, Michael. We have you now." And, and they made arrangements for my scholarship to continue and everything, so they protected me beautifully.
Wow. Now, were they lynching people at that time, Mike? Still?
Oh, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you must remember this was just before Martin Luther King really got started, you know, and the Old South was really Old South, and, you know.
Wow.
The schools were segregated, you know. You couldn't go to certain stores. You had to go through back doors and things like that. It was really a horrible time. Most people my age are really dying out very quickly. So I'm probably one of the very few remember, but I do remember those times. I tell people I was wounded because when I got to USC, I was confused. I was 18 years old.
Wow.
I was confused, you know, emotionally, intellectually. Only thing I knew I had to survive and keep on going because that's the way I was brought up in Morton, Pennsylvania. My grandparents, you know, they were from the South. They said, no matter what happens to you, Mikey, you keep on going. So that was my objective.
Did you ever witness a lynching?
Yes. When I was 6 years old, my grandmother took me to the South, and she told me to never forget. We were hiding, and she says, "Never forget this." She says, "Look, I want you to never forget this." And I did. When I saw the black man hanging from a tree,
Mercy.
That disturbs me to this very moment. It shaped my attitude. It shaped the way I thought. It shaped the way I had to fight back. And it shaped the way the reality of survival had to be taken quite seriously.
Wow.
You know, so whatever I do today at his age is because it was banked on that experience. I'm sorry.
Wow. How did you manage to get to, let's talk about parents and getting you to the level of going to a university? Is this in your family history that the one being educated in the system of collegiate, the collegiate experience? Is this where your family's well-to-do enough that's how, you know, you were able to have this legacy now of being, you know, going to, you know, university so early? Were your parents, you know, somewhat would be considered well off, or?
Not at that time. And
Okay.
well, like in the 40s, you forget this was like 40s. When I was growing up in Morton, Pennsylvania, that's not too far, about 9 miles from Philadelphia. Okay. Now, in the city of Philadelphia, things were open for everybody to go to theaters, restaurants, etc. But in the small towns, if they had a theater, the blacks had to sit on one side and the whites on another. I went to a separate school. I went to a school called Phyllis Wheatley. It was an ex-slave who educated herself, etc. You know, and the white school from the first grade to the 8th grade, we were separated. Only when we graduated that we were allowed to go to an interracial school. I went to a top grade school, almost a private school called Swarthmore. We had to take a test to get in there, and only 5 of us passed the test to go to the school, you know. And once I got into that school, I was voted class president of my freshman class that was beginning, you know. And so they said, I got also sorts of scholarships, and the music was enhanced, and I was one of the creme de la creme of the school. And a lot of people resented it of the school. A lot of students resented it. Who is this guy, you know? But I was trained by my black teachers at Phyllis Wheatley to move on. They taught me about marionettes, Paul Rollins, and Roland Hayes, you know, all these, and Phyllis Wheatley, the great poet and writer as well, you know. And I was extremely lucky. And my black teachers talked to me daily about achieving, about knowing my history, knowing who I was. So when I went off to high school, I was really filled with information, which means I had a weapon. You know, I didn't let anybody forget who I was and where I came from. and who did marvelous, wonderful things that were not in the history books generally, that I knew who they were. And I would bring their names up in classes and lectures. And if they were talking about George Washington, I'd talk about somebody else, Frederick Douglass, and people like that. I would talk about them. And they gave me, and when they had concerts in Philadelphia, my black teachers took me to concerts, like Paul Robeson. I met Paul Robeson backstage. I mean, Josephine Baker. I met her, you know. She was at the Earl Theater in Philadelphia, you know, on Market Street, you know. And they gave me an opportunity to go backstage and talk to Josephine Baker. And I was overwhelmed by Josephine Baker. I mean, she was like, ooh la la, oh my darling, you know, she's speaking French. And she said, you should learn to speak French or another language to be a part of the world. Don't be trapped in ignorance and things like that. And words and advice like that kept me rolling, kept me breathing, you know. And Roland Hayes and Paul Robeson had said, you like singing? I said, I love singing. He was singing Ballad for Americans, you know, with the choral. It was inspiring. I went home in tears on the train, which was about 10 miles from the city of Philly to Norton, Pennsylvania. And I kept thinking about Paul Robeson, hearing his voice, you know. When I was able to get money, I bought his record, his album of Ballad for America. And I dreamt and just visualized my singing songs like he sang. So, I'd say about 15 years later, I was singing Ballad for America because I wasn't as good as he was, but I sang my heart out and tried to emulate this guy. He was inspiring. He really inspired me. Marian Anderson, when I heard her sing Ave Maria, I wanted to sing Ave Maria as well. And I told her so. So when I got to Hollywood, I met them all when I was in Hollywood. I was in the script department and directing at the studios and performing, you know. And when Paul Robeson arrived here, and I went down to his concert, I made darn sure I got to the backstage, and he says, I remember you. You're the kid with the big mouth. You would never stop talking. He said, you would never stop talking. I said, you remember me? He said, you're from Morton, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia. And one of my old classmates I went to school with, Miss Watson, was my classmate, and she brought you backstage. Don't you remember that kid? I said, yes, of course, you know. And so he remembered. And everybody, Marian Anderson remembered me. She says, you're the kid who never stopped singing and talking. You asked about music. You asked me about my mother. You asked me about everybody. He said, you were quite nosy. You had to find out about me. And so I was older, and this is when she was appearing in the Hollywood Bowl. And I went to see her, and I just pushed myself, you know, through the crowd. And I said, hi, Miss Anderson. Don't you remember me? She says, oh, no, how did you get here? You're a big boy now. You know, I said, well, I'm big in some ways and small in many other ways. I can barely afford to get here, but I made it now, Miss Anderson. She says, yes, you did. She says, come in, I'll use my dressing room. We'll talk. We had a long talk, you know. And she said, keep on praying and keep on studying and take your lessons and eat properly. Don't get overweight. Don't get fat, you know, because you'll be a part of the theater. And she gave me, and from that time on, I communicated with her. I wrote her notes and sent her birthday cards, and she always responded. It was like one. Roland Hayes was the same way. Roland Hayes, the great tenor, he did the same thing, you know. And until Paul Robeson died, I communicated with all those people that were in our history books, the black books, you know, and let them know I was still honoring them.
I mean, the fact that, you know, I just seen video of Paul Robeson and the you know how much of a gladiator he was in the arts and Hollywood theater, music. He was an amazing talent.
Oh, he did films as well.
Yeah, he did films as well.
Oh, yeah, he was wonderful. I mean, but he was inspiring. The first time I heard him sing, I went into tears. And he came on stage like a king, and he spoke about freedom. And I sat there while the audience applauded for 10 minutes. 10 minutes they applauded. And I sat there, unbelieving this brilliant man, this black brother, this marvelous voice of his came out like he
Mercy.
owned the world.
Mercy.
It was, he inspired me. How could I not be inspired? You know, when like I said, I went home in tears. I was crying. I mean, silently, of course, I was on a train, you know, things like that. And I got home, and my mother said, "What is wrong with you, boy?" I said, "Paul Robeson, Mom, Paul Robeson." She started laughing. She said, "Oh, I understand." You know, now I was only about 12 years old, and from that moment on, I communicated with him. I got to Hollywood, like I said, I met him again, and anytime I had a problem musically, or I auditioned for people, etc., you know, and he inspired me. Miss Anderson was the same way, and people like that. Duke Ellington inspired me and talked to me. Lionel Hampton,
Mercy.
Ab Calloway. I was lucky because I was introduced to these people by other musicians because I was very aggressive, and they introduced me because they were working musicians, you know, and they made darn sure I met all the people that was necessary to help my career, and they worked with me as far as music arranging. Since they knew I could play the piano, I made extra money by playing their arrangements, and I would take the arrangements after they approved it and go where they were staying at a hotel if they were appearing on Hollywood or in Los Angeles generally. And so I got a chance to meet these people by being a part of their world. Billie Holiday. Oh my God! When I met her, she came to the after party. She was staying at the house, and they asked me to take her to the room where she was going to rest a bit. And she says, I was about to leave her. She says, "Don't go, Mike. You want sit on the bed." And Billie Holiday talked with me a little bit, and she says, "I want to sing a song for you." I said, "Yes. What song would you like?" I said, "Any song." She said, "Well, I'll sing God Bless the Child." And Billie Holiday sat back on the bed and rested her head on the pillow and sang "God Bless the Child" for me.
What?
And she was "God Bless the Child."
Mercy.
And when she finished, she closed her eyes and she went to sleep. And I left her lying on the bed. She was really under drugs even then. I didn't know anything about
Mercy.
It was amazing. The moment, it was a magical moment with me and Billie Holiday.
Wow. Tell me something. What about Nina Simone?
I didn't like Nina Simone too much.
But she was one of the most radical. She was like the radical black woman of the time.
Yeah, she was too black and too radical because everybody else had dignity. She would go evil and cuss people out. She would say, and she stayed with my family in New York City. She stayed, and she couldn't stay anywhere else because nobody liked Nina.
Serious?
Nina was gifted. Yeah, I'm serious. Nina was gifted, brilliant, and all of that, but Nina was impossible to deal with. And the only people to deal with was my family who lived across from Central Park, and my sister opened the door and says, "For God's sake, you can stay with me." And Nina with an evil self, I'm telling you how it was. I stayed there. My family loved her. And when I met her, I said, "Oh my God, I would kill this bitch." I'll tell you, because she was going to stay with me. I'll be honest about it. You know, because Nina was not easy. No matter who she was having sex with, the first time they're having sex with Nina, they'll never have another sexual moment with Nina. And Nina Simone was something else. Brilliant, talented, miraculous, but people couldn't live with that woman. I'm going to tell you right now.
Wow. I mean, I guess, was that a part of, I mean, if you sum her up and you look at all what she contributed, I mean, Young, Gifted, and Black, a very talented song of our time and meant so much to the black community. She sang a number of songs that just, Strange Fruit. I mean, she was in tune.
The people who really gave so much to the black people at that time was the Alina Horns and the Hazel Scotts and the Paul Robesons and the Mary Andersons, the Roland Hayes, and people like that who really gave up themselves and they made people love them, really care about them. Nina was fighting and angry all the time.
Okay.
When she walked on the stage, you felt that she resented being there.
Okay.
Every song she sang, she
Okay.
didn't give love, she gave anger.
Okay.
You know, where all Marian Anderson gave love and hold her hands out to people, there's going to be a better day. And Lena
Interesting.
Horne sang, she went through some stuff as well. But when Lena met you, Lena met you, and you felt love. You felt as if she wants to help you to raise yourself above the muck and the heartache and the pain that you're living as a black man or a black woman or a black girl or boy. I mean,
Wow.
that's a difference. Nina was angry as soon as she left the South. Angry.
Wow.
You know, and that's what the difference. I wanted to love her because I loved her singing. It was powerful. Yes, I know my moments. But, I mean, her as a human being, just talking to her was angry. And she wanted to fight people. She
Wow.
was complaining. She made you feel she was missing something, you know. And you wanted to embrace her, but you were afraid to embrace her because she just had so many layers of anger and regret, and she wanted to fight back. And where that was the major difference with Nina.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and yet people tried to love her. And the black people tried to love. I mean, they tried to ignore all that. But those of us who had to deal with it, and then private moments, this private dinners, there was anger there. This anger.
Wow.
It's so sad.
When you yourself now you move through, you graduate from college, and you
Yes,
you enter Hollywood now. Obviously, like you're saying, it's not easy. It's a real rebellious time.
Yeah.
You know, coming through.
Yes.
How did you now really enter Hollywood to get your break? That they
Well,
said,
I'll tell you.
Michael
Well,
is here.
What happened during when I was in college, because when I got to USC, USC at that time was made up of a lot of industry kids,
Okay.
and their parents were part of the
industry.
studio, MGM,
Okay.
Warner Brothers, you know, RKO, Paramount. I mean, their kids were going to college, so therefore, I was forced to run with them. I was invited to, they discovered me that I could sing and perform and dance, and they wanted me to meet their parents and people like that. So I got a chance to stand out at USC, and USC itself was attracting the world because it attracted some of the very wealthiest people in the world, and artistic people, and so therefore I got a chance to sing for Shostakovich, you know, the Russian composer, with Jackie Horn, Marilyn Horne, the Metropolitan diva. We were there at USC together, and so we were asked to perform for a lot of guests of famous people, you know, like I say, Shostakovich and many at the Hollywood Bowl. I was asked to perform there with Jackie or Marilyn Horne, and anytime the USC had to be represented at a major event in any part of the country, they would send Jackie and I, you know. So I was lucky, and then I was in the marching band, you know, the Trojans, you know. At football time or whatever, I was a part of that, and I had every opportunity and anything that happened in Los Angeles, you know, that was really the governor or the mayor, they asked me to perform, and Jackie. Both of us really I was given an opportunity while I was right there going to college at USC, and then I would audition for shows. And that's how I got involved with the Ebony Showcase with Nick Stewart, who was doing a TV series called Innocent Andy. And he owned a theater, the first black theater in Los Angeles. And he took a hold of me and offered me opportunities to perform in musicals, do plays, and things like that. And Juanita Moore, who was an Imitation of Life, who was nominated for an Oscar, was one of the teachers there. She took a hold of me, and she tried to help me tremendously. And so, I mean, I was James Edwards, who did Home of the Brave, the first black guy who really did a leading role in the motion picture. He was there, part of the theater, and all these other people Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole was part of the theater, and meeting him, he was inspiring, you know. And all the
That was one of your favorite combinations, Judy Garland.
Were a part of that theater. So I was lucky to meet them, watch them, be guided by them, and supported by the black performers. It was quite different with black performers then and now. Now they're making millions of dollars. You can't even say hello to them because they have 45 guards protecting them. But then those names like Lena and Nat King Cole and Ethel Waters and people like that, they opened the door to all the younger blacks and they inspired us. And when they had a play to do or a movie to do, they wanted us to get a part too and observe what they were doing. In other words, they were picking us up and saying, yes, it can happen, but you've got to be prepared. You got to speak English. You got to do it properly. You got to have a certain way of presenting yourself to make people want to have you a part of their production company or their musical or whatever. And get training. You've got to get the training. If you couldn't dance, take lessons. You know, if you couldn't sing very well, take lessons.
How much of it? I've just seen a piece with Elvis Presley. They're doing this documentary, and I got some clips where a lot of black producers, writers, composers were obviously behind the scenes, but gave a lot of these. Gave many white stars a lot of writing and music. Elvis, there's a writer that was behind "Don't Be Cruel," I think, something like that. Who was black. Did you have a time period where you were masked behind sort of the white world and having to deliver your talent so that they would succeed?
Oh, well, yeah, because that's the way things were at the time.
Okay.
I knew Elvis. And because Elvis, gave me my first car.
Sorry?
Elvis Presley gave me my first car.
Oh, gee.
Because I was going to a premiere, and one of his guards, and sort of best friends from Nashville, was a friend of mine. And he insisted that Elvis and I meet. And I was doing a film called Carmen Jones with Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte and Pearl Bailey. And the rest of the people you know as well in the film. It was a classic film. And he brought, while I was filming, he brought Elvis over to me because Elvis was at Paramount Studios doing something or preparing to do something for that studio. But he brought him over to me. He says, I want you to meet Elvis Presley. And I said, hello. And he said, hello. He said, I heard so much about you. I said, I heard a few things about you too. And, so I had my attitude. And, I was typical 18-year-old young kid. Elvis Presley, hell, I could sing too. I was from Philadelphia. I have to be honest. I had my attitude. So I did too. I was in love with Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. And Billy Eckstein. People like that. I had mine. Elvis Presley, please. And the way he was wiggling his body all over the place, you could see everything but his penis. I said, dear God, but Elvis liked me because he says, I like you. I said, yeah, that's nice. And so he says, can we have dinner sometimes? I said, sure, why not? Because I didn't give a damn who Elvis Presley was. I know that he was a white boy who was making probably $1 million, and I was still making about $300 a week. So I mean, really, let's be honest about this. But Elvis, and he wouldn't let me go. And he said, I want your phone number. I want to know where you're staying. And I said, I'm living on campus at USC. He said, oh, you go to USC, the Trojans. I said, yeah, I'm in the marching band. And so Elvis would call me, and he said, you need anything? He said, you need anything? I said, I'm always needing. So he would send a car for me, whatever. And when I finally got to go to a premiere for a major movie at the Grauman's Chinese Theater And he said, "How are you getting there?" I said, "I'm going to catch a bus." He says, "No, you are not." And, and the next day, a car was delivered to me. Elvis Presley bought me a car.
Jeez.
He said, "You are," yeah. He says, "You are going to that premiere and shut up. You're going to go to that premiere and style. You cannot go to premiere on a cotton picking bus. What's wrong with you, boy?" I said, "Well, thank you very much." I just accepted the car. It was a beautiful car. Because I thought it was very nice, and I was impressed, But I was young, and I had an attitude myself, because after all, I was in Hollywood. I was going to USC. I had been performing all over town, and I was in my first film, with all these famous people that I loved and admired. Harry Belafonte, and Dorothy Dandridge, Pearl Bailey, Pearlie Nay, And so I was lucky. And naturally, I'll be honest about it. I had a little attitude, and I talked more than they did. And they were impressed. They couldn't believe that this little black boy from Pennsylvania was acting as if he was a major star, and I had only done a few things. Let's face it. Yeah, I had background, but at 18, that was enough to make me feel I was king of the town.
Wow.
And they loved it. They thought the attitude was survival.
Wow.
They said, you know how, you won't have a problem. You'll know how to handle yourself. Because if they don't recognize your talent, you would tell them. And that's exactly what I told Otto Preminger. When I auditioned with Carmen Jones, he says, "Why do you think you can do this part of T-Bone?" I said, "Because I'm the best band actor in Hollywood." He laughed hysterically. And I said, "Where's my contract?" He said, "Contract? What the hell are you talking about, their contract? I didn't give you the job. I said, you yourself the best. I told you I was the best thing." He said, "Get out of my office." I said, "No, I want to know if I have it." He said, "You have the part. Get out, get out." And I left his office, and he says, I called every day. When am I going to sign the contract? And I got to know his secretary, Helen. Helen says, "Michael, you are going to get a role, and you're going to get T-Bone. Don't worry, you will play that part. But don't be calling every moment." I said, "But I want to make sure Mr. Preminger will not forget." She says, "Darling, he will not forget you." That's for sure. And so, but the way I got the part, I went to the studio every day. I watched them filming other scenes from Carmen Jones. And he looked at me, refused to talk to me. But I made darn sure wherever he was filming, wherever the camera was and where he was directing, he'd see me stand there watching him. He would run from the stage, and so he wouldn't have to see me or talk to me, because I would follow him. And he would lock the door of his office and everything, so I wouldn't get to him. And so finally, Pearl Bailey showed me a script. And the script indicated that my scene, T-Bone, was going to be filmed a few days later. And I didn't get a call from Helen, Otto Preminger's secretary, that I was supposed to report for a rehearsal. So I decided I told Pearl Bailey that I said, "I'm going up to his office." And she said, "You're going to do what?" I'm going up to Mr. Preminger's office. He said, "Oh my God, honey, you better watch yourself. I'm warning you, don't go up there today. He's in a bad mood." I said, "I'm in a bad mood too." So I went up to his office. I said, I'm from Morton, Pennsylvania. You're not scared. I went up to his office. Helen was not at her desk. I saw a little light coming from the crack of his office door. I opened the door. I said, "Mr. Preminger," and God, I was fainted because Otto Preminger was having sex with Dorothy Dandridge on his sofa.
No way.
And I said, oh, yes. I said, "I'm so sorry. Oh, Mr. Preminger, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." I was backing out the door, nearly fell back into a wall. Then I turned and opened the door, and I ran from his office, which was on the second floor of a building, and ran down to Pearl Bailey's dressing room. And I said, I opened the door. She said, "What is wrong with you, my Mikey? What is wrong with you?" I said, "Pearl Bailey, they're doing it." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, Pearlie, they are doing it. Mr. Preminger is doing it with Dorothy Dandridge." She said, "What? Doing what?" I said, "Oh, Pearlie, don't make me say it, because I'm a Christian. I cannot say that." So when I told her, she fainted. She fainted, almost laughing. She
Oh,
says,
no.
"Sweetheart, I'm gonna tell you, baby, what part you say you want in this movie?" I said, "T-Bone." She said, "You'll play it in drag now, because no one will say no to you. Believe me."
Oh,
So the
mercy.
next morning, yeah, that's how I got the part of T-Bone in Carmen Jones. The
Now-
next morning, I
now
showed
listen-
up telling
Listen to this. Okay, because you've hit that subject, right?
yes,
The casting coach
yes,
in Hollywood. I mean,
yeah,
you know, we've seen what has happened with Bill Cosby.
yeah, it's come many years after.
This is right. This is a relative. I guess in Tiny and this whole sexcapade of Hollywood and what's taking place between you getting the jobs. You know, this whole thing now is about this. People being sexually having to do sexual favors, people being drugged, people being. I mean, this
Yeah.
whole thing. What is the real deal? Was that a part of the whole sexcapade of getting jobs and,
Oh, yes.
and in Hollywood? And I mean, and was Bill, is Bill really one of the real learned soldiers of this whole thing?
Well, but
Is it the
I'll tell you
norm?
something. Oh, it's the norm. And ever since silent films have been screwing each other, Charlie Chaplin, and all those Earl Flynn, all those classical actors, Lionel Barrymore. He screwed everybody in Hollywood, And I used to work for John Barrymore. I used to work for Lionel Barrymore at CBS in the script department as a kid. I got an extra job there, first black one they had there in the script department. And then radio, that was radio for Lionel Barrymore. Did a show called Mayor of the Town. And they were all having sex with each other. And the women knew it. They came to Hollywood, they thought that they couldn't get it just by talent, they get it by sex,
Mercy.
And so this is nothing new whatsoever. And all the actresses, black and white and Mexicans and Chinese and all the women and men, this is what they were doing. They played games like that. That's why it's amazing that it could be so shocking at Bill Cosby. When Bill Cosby got here from Philly, he joined the group of Playboys, and he was part of the Playboy Club, and they all did each other, et cetera, et cetera. It was nothing shocking, nothing new, and maybe it wasn't publicized that much, but they were doing it. Because I know when all the parties I'd go to, people get off in bedrooms and things like that, and I got to attack myself as a young kid when I was going to the USC. I was tied up and was raped, by a number of people. Charles Lawton, the great English actor, was there. Marlon Brando was there. Dan Daly, and there was there. Robert Mitchum, people like that. They were all at the party, and they gave me a drink, and it was a psychedelic drink, and they tied me up to the bed and the ceiling of the bed, and I was raped. I was attacked, and I woke up, under the drug itself and asking for help, and
Mercy.
Rock Hudson helped me. He saved me.
Rock Hudson.
Rock Hudson saved me. He says, "Kid, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." He said, "I'll get you out of here." So he talked to my buddy Dan Daly, who was a major Sarge as well, a dancer, singer, and Betty Grable, and people like that. And
Wow.
he says, I'm going to get you out of here. And so he got me out of it, and I took a shower, and because my body was sticky, it was like the semen that was because I was raped, so I was in pain. And he said, I'm going to take you back to the campus. So but he got me into the car. He said, I'm going to take you to my home, and I'll make sure that you're okay. You're going to stay overnight, and in the morning, I'll drive you back to the campus at USC. I said, thank you, Mr. Hudson.
But what about? I mean, today. I mean, did you ever think about pressing charges? I mean, did you? Think about
because
taking...
it seems to be the norm. It was the norm, because even some of my professors on campus at USC, approached me sexually, and I felt like I was a mark, because at that time it seemed like people just what they wanted they got, And I must admit, quite even in my book, Hollywood Through the Back Door, I relate how I had to fight off a lot of professors, my teachers at USC, and at studios as well, and some of the famous people. You know, I was approached and things like that. It was when I left back on East, my
Wow.
life was turned completely in another direction of reality
Was
because I had to deal with all of this. And I was by myself.
what was that probably your darkest
My
part
darkest time because I didn't. I grew up in the church, and my mother and grandmother made darn sure
Wow.
that I had that kind of influence. And coming to Los Angeles, Hollywood, and all the other things I had to contend with and to relate to, and I read in books, and my teachers taught me about it at Phyllis Wiki School that things could happen, but I didn't believe it. And when I had to experience these things in actuality in a very realistic way, it was a shocking thing for me to tackle intellectually. It affected I emotionally. I was on the edge. I was a little bit angry myself, and I was always careful. And because the way I was brought up in the church and the way my grandmother spoke to me and my teachers believed in me, I had a war between living in this kind of world that you had to safeguard yourself at every move you made.
mercy?
You know, it was quite a challenge to stay alive. But I was determined to because of Marian Anderson, Paul Robeson, all the people that inspired me. This is the thing that kept me going. This is why I say it's terribly important to inspire the young blacks or young people or minorities, to show them there was another way, that you must keep on going no matter how much you got kicked in the derriere. You had to keep on believing. And you had some sort of religious feeling, keep that thing going, knowing that this is the way to survive, not
Wow.
through sexual things or anger and things like that. I was deep down, I was still angry, but I didn't realize it because I just resented, having to survive daily by saying no or keep my eyes open. Because anything could happen at a Hollywood party, and it could happen from the most famous person there. It could happen with a parent of a famous of a classmate who said, "We want to take you home to meet my parents." And, I met all sorts of people who thought because I was a black kid who in need, I guess they thought I was accessible. They tried to take advantage of me sexually and things like that. But I had to fight. I had to fight people off. I had threesomes and foursomes that got me at parties and things like that. I had to really deal with the reality of the world I was living in. But it only initiated a power inside of me that I was not going to let it stop me from moving to the mountaintop. I always say, because that's how people express themselves. Keep on moving up, Michael. You'll make it. Just don't let things like that pull you into the den of iniquity.
Right. And hold you there, especially. We're gonna
exactly.
Yeah.
If you made mistakes, it's normal to make mistakes, and I made mistakes. Of course, I did, but I wouldn't let those mistakes to tie me down to a world that was not acceptable. My education was terribly important.
Okay.
And when I got my PhD, I got my doctorate degree 10 years ago. After all that time, at Dominican University of California. I was the first black to get a doctorate degree in music and English literature at the University of California, the Dominican. So I kept on. All of my life has been education.
I hear you. When we're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll talk about one, how you made your mark in music to get the Grammy. I think that's important.
That was a dare, because at Dominican University they said, "Oh, Michael, you always talking about classical music. You love symphonic music. You're trying to get a PhD." And they said, "Why don't you write a symphony? Do you think you can do it?" I said, "Of course." I said, "What?" And I thought instantly, "Why the hell did I say that?" Of course I could. I didn't know if I could do something like that.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a small break. Okay?
Okay.
It's like a reset. Take a small break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back right after this with Michael St. John,
Okay.
right out there in Hollywood, talking about us this morning, early in the morning, from LA. We'll be right back right after this. Fresh TV, the best TV, freshen up in the morning. Oh boy, once again we're back inside Fresh TV, the best TV, freshen up in the morning, and of course we have our very special guest on the line, with honor from LA, Michael St. John, music producer, actor, writer, script, theater man, singer. I mean, gee, I ain't got enough space on my title bar, Mike. Welcome back. I honestly, I didn't see that piece coming on the on how you were molested and raped. I didn't see that coming. In the world of Hollywood, thinking about the casting couch, maybe voluntarily, but I didn't see the whole rape thing coming in as a part of that story. For one, how hard you worked and thinking about it, but then you walked into it. Getting your first sort of real glimpse with the Dandridge situation, but never thinking probably you had to be a part of that whole world.
It's amazing. I'm a believer that things happen because it's written, and they happen because it's supposed to happen. But because it happened, it opened doors to other events and other experiences. I believe that everything in your life is already there. It's like a puzzle. You just got to just move in a direction where they all fit together eventually, and that's the figuration of life itself. So a lot of things that, because I came from the background I came from, it was very strict, religious, it was abusive as far as my father's concerned. So I was meant to have that because it really determined that I want to get ahead and do things to escape the horrors of this being human. When I got to Hollywood and all these things were confronting me, I just had to make decisions. What do I accept to be a part of it, or do I go beyond it? Survive as well as I possibly could, but learn from it. And sometimes fake being a part of some of the scandalous things just because it was part of the industry.
Okay.
But I would go home, I would call my grandmother, and she says, I'll send you money right away. You are going to leave Hollywood. You're never going back there. That's a place of sin. I'm telling you right now, because I would tell my grandmother everything.
Okay.
And my grandmother, literally, because I was used to talking to my grandma. I wouldn't hold anything back. I told her about the sex thing and everything else. I said, Grandma, this one. She says, what? Oh, no. I'm sending you a ticket. You got a Greyhound bus there. You're going to get a Greyhound bus back. And she said, I said, no, Grandma. I'm going to stay here and wait it out and make a difference because I do have opportunities here. She said, I know, but I don't want you to be a part of the subject to that kind of life because you weren't brought up that way. I said, I know, but believe me, because I wasn't brought up that way, that means you have to play the game of observing and surviving and yet getting what you want. You just couldn't be wholly sanctified and say, no, I'm leaving. No, you don't run away from something. Face it, deal with it, and you make people understand that you're not from the same hole that they're from.
So you did a lot of faking after that point. You started to sort of fake.
Yeah.
You realized you couldn't show your real self in a sense, right?
Exactly. I had to play the game. I had to sit back and smile. If they wanted me to join a nude party, I said no. I have a couple red marks on my body or whatever. I don't want to display these things. And they said, "Oh, Mikey, you're always so." We don't care. I said, "I care. I don't want people to see this mark. I don't have any marks." You know. And I said, "Oh, I think I'm coming down with chicken pox or something. So I don't want to get red spots or something. That was a lie." You know. So I mean, I always got out of a situation that was very sensitive. You know. Because I was brought up a certain way, I was not going to be like that. I'm sorry. I mean, I pretended, and sometimes I'd go part of the way, and when people weren't looking at me or when I was sitting or whatever, I would get the hell out of there and even try to walk home or tell one of my buddies at the party or whatever to please get me home. I wasn't feeling well. I always would have excuses.
Okay.
Know? And some of these parties, you know, they were, you know, had some of the most famous people there in the industry in Hollywood. But I said, fine, but I would not, every time I try to leave or go in a direction that was not acceptable, I think of my grandmother and my mother and how they worked hard to try to get me through school and get me through the college and everything else. They worked hard. They were maids, and they had started businesses and try to keep our family going. I respected that. I didn't care. Once I saw the world, it was always a challenge for the next moment, for the next hour, for the next day. I looked at it for what it was, even at that young age, and I made a choice. The choice was survive.
I heard
have
you.
Dignity.
Now you went through and and you know what? You finished it on the right words, with dignity. That is so important. Yeah, that's so important. You went on and you won a Grammy as a composer.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that. You know, because that's the symbol of arrival in Hollywood, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it was, because it was a dare. Because at the Dominican University, they said, "Well, Michael, you are a good Frank Sinatra performer. You can do musicals at Broadway, but you can't. To get a PhD, you would have to compose a symphony." I said, "Oh, really? That's all?" They said, "What do you mean, that's all? You've heard of Beethoven? Have you heard of all these great composers? You know?" I said, "Yeah, they were great guys. I like their music, etc." And I said, "Oh, I will have to compose a symphony." And they said, "Yeah." So I said, "I'll compose a symphony." He said, "Michael, please shut up." I said, "I will compose a symphony." Well, I went to my dorm room and I went to the music hall and I sat down and started getting the main theme. And within the next day, I showed it to another one of my buddies in the music department. I said, "Michael, this has promise. This is very interesting." He would just a melodic line, the basic, theme of a symphonic work. I said, "Well, I'm going to work on it and see," because they said I would have to get his PhD. I would have to compose a symphony, and I would have to be performed and everything, and that cost a fortune. I said, "Okay." I kept working on it. Every time I had a free moment from a class, or I had to substitute teaching, because I had to practice teaching as well. They were part of my money, the deal I had with the university. And so I kept working on it and in 3 weeks I composed a symphony. I brought my music professor down, and they had a mini, and that was electrical, box. And I brought one of my pianists, with the words a piano major, and he played a major part of the symphony. And the teacher, professor, had his mouth open. He said, "How in the hell did you do this? It's wonderful." I said, "Oh, really?" And he says, "Are you going to finish it?" I said, "Yeah," because you had, to orchestrate it with different pieces of the orchestra.
Just keep your voice up for me. Keep your voice up. I can't hear you. Keep your voice up.
Pardon me?
Yeah, keep your voice up.
Oh, okay. It was I had to get the different parts of the symphony together, and I worked with other musicians in the music department. It's a teamwork. One thing, once you get the major theme, you got to work with different parts to make it work, especially if you want to have it recorded. And so within 3 weeks, it was done. And so I showed it to the head of the music department. He said, "My God, this is quite a work, Michael. Are you sure you wrote this?" I said, "Of course. You should see all the aspirin I took, because it was a headache. Because I would worry, I'd go home, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I was losing weight, because I was into it. It was a fantastic effort. It was a tremendous. Everybody on campus was talking about it, and they said, well, you got to get it recorded. That's part of the deal, and it costs about $5,000. I said, $5,000? You must be crazy, man. And Joe Fink, the president of the college, he said, how are you going to do this? I said, well, I have friends in Hollywood, and so I will call Cher, who was with Sonny and Cher, Cher, and I'm Sylvester Stallone, Jackie, his mother, and I were friends. I told them, I said, I need money, you guys. They said, why do you need my money? I said, my symphony. Symphony? What are you talking about, a symphony? I said, well, because I composed a symphony, and the only way I can get my PhD is have it recorded and performed. And so I called everybody in Hollywood and people in San Francisco. I called the people from the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, my friends there. They said, okay, Marco, we'll help you. We'll record it with you. And I got money from everybody. I called everybody in Hollywood, everybody in San Francisco. Now the president of the college, I need $3,000. So I saw him walking across campus. I said, Joe, and he says, what do you want, Michael? I said, I've got to talk to you. About what, Michael? I said, can I come to your office? He said, before you come to my office, what the hell do you want? I said, I want $3,000. He fainted. He says, get the hell off my camp. Don't come back. I want to see you. You're through. I don't call $3,000. Man, you must be crazy. I said, I want $3,000 to get my symphony recorded, and you make $1 million a year as president of this college. Why would you complain about $3,000, Joe?
Mercy.
And I was older than Joe. Let's face it, I'll be honest. I'm older than the president of the college.
Right.
He says, when are you graduating? I said, I'll graduate the end of this year. He said, I hope it happens, because when you graduate, I hope you never come back. He said, come to my office, and I'll give you the money. And I said, thank you, Joe. How soon? He says, in a half hour. Okay. I was watching my watch, and so I run up to his office. And when I ran to his office, his secretary, I said, Michael, he's in there talking to himself. What have you done to him? I said, because I'm going to get some money from that fool. And she said, she said, I want nothing to do with it. You go in there. So I went in there. He said, I don't want to hear your mouth. If you pull on his checkbook, here's $3,000. Now get out of my office. If you ever come back here again, when you graduate, don't even look at me and don't even say goodbye. I said, thank you. I said, Joe, I love you. He says, that's bullshit. Get the hell out of my office. So that's how I really got my recording done. Wow. And I called Spielberg's partner who did Star Wars. He's a famous partner of his who did Star Wars. He's very famous. I think that's his name now, but he had a ranch and recording. That's where they did the Star Wars recording.
Okay.
And so that's from the name just at any rate, he gave me a few $1,000 as well. I convinced him because I knew Spielberg in Hollywood, and he said, you know something, you have something beautiful there, and you're the first person and to really come with a symphonic work, Michael. He said, this is history. This is historic. I said, well, I know how historic it is, but that's the only way I could get my PhD. Mercy. So here it is. Yeah. And so they gave me time on his recording studio, and was wonderful. I got with the musicians from the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. I raised almost $10,000, and had a great deal with the union, musicians union, and got that all approved. And we went in there, and the university, Dominican University, gave me, it was an all-day recording. So you had to feed the musicians. The university allowed their kitchen, the chef, prepare food to feed all the musicians, made transportations for people to come from different parts to observe it, gave all the publicity and the promotion. It was like I wouldn't be tears. They even paid for the pianist to fly in from Paris. He was a Chinese pianist, and he performed for me overnight. They paid him $2,000 or $3,000 to come in. He was on tour. The guy was, and then there was a South Korean pianist who they had to make a deal with. She was going to perform as well on the symphony, and so that's how it all got together. So it took all day. It was a moment. It was like a spiritual moment because the interns we got from the campus and the music department, and they were in tears because they were so beautiful, you know. So it was an experience for me and the students, and the way you had to produce something, and I had the whole campus behind me. It was quite a moving experience for me. Really, I shall never forget it, you know. And when the music started playing in the recording room, it was like a spiritual thing altogether. And everybody started crying. The students started crying. They said, "Michael, this is so beautiful," you know. And we heard, you know, the violins, the cello, and the bass violins, and the flutes were playing, and the oboes, and they all had their moments, you know. Gosh, I'll tell you, it was quite a spiritual moment.
What happened when obviously you get invited to the awards for the Grammys?
Yes, I couldn't go. I was ill.
And you couldn't go?
Someone from the university went to pick it up for me.
Oh, boy.
It was one of the students. And I was so happy. I was terribly ill. Because everything, you know, because I had gotten ill because of all the tension and everything, you know, and I wasn't eating properly, and I just couldn't make it. Every step I made, I was upchucking, you know. They said, you can't go. We got to get one of your buddies from the dorm. So one of my guys from the dorm went and accepted it and broke down in tears. He said, "Michael is so happy about this," you know. And so it was a moment for everybody at the university, and for me, and for people in LA and my friends from back east, because everybody heard about it. You know, it was exciting. Oh, it was a moment I shall never forget.
Wow.
Never.
Wow. Did you now? I gotta ask this question because
yes,
this was given out in what year?
53.
So you got the Grammy.
No, in 2003.
2003.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
2003. You got this Grammy.
Yes.
Now, what I'm finding interesting is that you're in Hollywood, you're in school. Where's all your money that you had to ask these guys for like $5,000?
Well, I paid for all the work, of course, for the musicians, for a lot of the transportation for things, and I got a lot of help from Dominican University and from personal relationships from the people in Hollywood. But it all went out for it ordinarily producing a 30-piece orchestra. Symphony orchestra, and the union, and the bond, and everything else, you know, you have to pay. And it took almost every dime to make it happen. And as far as the album itself, it sold a bit, you know, but it needed promotion. The important thing of it was produced, and they made it clear to me at the university. They said, "This is not for commercial use, but it will sell it." You know, but Michael, this is because this is your PhD effort, and so they told me the reality of what it was. But many people bought it and requested it and things like that, and I gifted the Grammy to the university. I gave it to because they really helped me tremendously.
Okay.
In fact, Joe complained, but he was my friend and he was a good guy. And we just dealt with each other in a very realistic, honest way, you know. And he said, "My God, you're the mascot of Dominican." I said, "How dare you call me the mascot?" He said, "Well, you're older than everybody on campus, so you're the mascot. Take it or leave it. You're the mascot." But we got along beautifully because I represented the university performing. You know, I did all sorts of things to help other students. I tutored students who needed help and people like that. You know, and the foreign students, a few black students who were there, I worked with them. You know. So they gave me a lot of respect, and even though Joe complained, he was proud that I was there, and he helped me. We were always joking, kidding each other. You know? It was a love affair, really, because we all loved each other.
My question is has Hollywood been lucrative for you to say, you know what, you're set, you got your just reward, you've a Grammy? I mean, you know, most people believe and I believe in like, hey, you're in Hollywood, you're set. Did it paid off for you so that you don't have to worry about anything?
Huh. For any black, oh my God, any black person who says that they could retire, you know, after. Hello?
I'm with you.
Oh, no. Any black artist who says they could retire to make the fabricating the whole thing. It doesn't happen. Today, yes, with the rappers and people like that, but Lena Horne and Nat King Cole and people like that, you know, to get up to $1 million or so, it took a lot, frankly, you know. And you have an understanding that, and then too, the money I made was pretty good, but then I was very young and I did some stupid things, and that's how I had some difficulty, to be honest with you.
Okay.
You know? And I could have easily have invested, but I didn't, and so I made some stupid mistakes.
Okay. Because I mean, I think that's what people, you know, would look at in terms of you're in Hollywood. How does that pan out? I mean,
Yes.
but also you're at a time where there is a huge disadvantage of one being black at that time. So even though you had to be mega star, and did you never worked like Las Vegas? Did you?
Yes, I did.
You did. You did.
I was one of the first ones that. Yes, at one of the major clubs there in the early '70s. I was one of the singer dancers, and with the first black chorus girls in Las Vegas. And so they asked me to appear in the show. So I went and performed, danced, and sang, and two of the major numbers for the first black chorus girls in Vegas, and that was in the early '70s. So that was very history-making as well, you know. And at that time, you know, a lot of the blacks couldn't live in the hotels even, you know, and so that was a reality as well. So when I was asked to perform, I said, "This is significant. I should just do it." So my manager and the agent, they said, "Yes, Michael, you've got to take advantage of all these opportunities because it means a lot for other blacks or people of color as well. So whether you want to or not, you do it." So I did. So that was documented as well, and I have photos of my dancing, you know, with the chorus girls and singing. And of course, my debut was very special because on my opening night in Vegas, I I went on stage with my unzipped, and my penis was showing.
Oh no!
And I got applause. And I got thunderous applause. so they called it penis power.
Oh. No, son. Oh,
that's
man.
the truth. That's the truth.
Oh, shoot.
And some of the cross girls said, "You did it on purpose. You wanted to steal the show." I said, "No, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. I just was dressing so quickly that I just forgot to zip up." So I ran out on stage, and boy, I was squatting and doing my flips and things like that. And my penis was flopping and zipping as well, And the audience was going crazy. I thought it was part of the act. They were thunderously they were thunderously applauding,
Oh,
I said, well,
boy.
I guess I'm a star.
Oh, boy. What about family life in terms of you? I mean, do you have family? Did you have family? Growing family? Did you, was that a part of your ethos in terms of also the other balancing act of being in Hollywood and being in production and movie world?
My family was Hollywood. Betty Davis was part of my family.
Okay.
They took me in. Like I said, Marlon Brando in Hollywood. If I made a deal, was going to get a job, they told me what I should do, what I should think about what I should be aware of, etc. Oh, I had great, Nat King Cole, with the black kid, Nick Stewart, who played Lightning on Amos Sandy. They made sure I ate. They made sure if I was doing a show, because they were veterans at Survival, and they knew I was alone. When I got into Hollywood, even though I went to USC, I was a student at USC, but I didn't have a family to protect me, to advise me, so I had to become a part of other families, white families, and people who thought that it was necessary for me to be aware of certain realities, And I had blacks and whites who were they were well connected, and they had tremendous achievements, then people, the world knew them. And they liked me because they knew I was alone. Because my family, they were back east, dealing with survival themselves, And they were proud of me, and I was connected with them all the time, because I would always try to call my grandma or my mom, or let them know what was going on, because I could be honest with them, my real feelings. If I was frustrated, I'd talk it out with them or with my grandma, and they quiet me down if I wanted to go to war or things like that. So no matter where I've been lucky to have people to care, and that's why they say you should always share. But sometimes I shared too much, and I made mistakes. And then I got lonely several times. I did things I should not have done. But I experimented with them, and I suffered the consequences, and I learned from it, and so I steered away and was able to survive the drugs situation. Because I experimented with drugs because I went to parties a couple of times, and I said, well, why not? Because I got sick and tired of, being alone, and I was a loner because that's the way I had to survive all the years. I couldn't run the same path or have the same journey as many of these other people,
right?
Because I knew the dangers. So I got tired and depressed at one point because things were not happening the way I wanted them to happen. So I did join a couple of those little wild nights, but I found out this is not for me, And so I walked on one of my friends. It was Paul. I was a comedian. I was in Hollywood walking and doing some window shopping, and I saw Paul, this comedian, approach me. He says, "Michael," I said, "Yeah, how are you doing, Paul?" He says, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You look like, dumb. Whatever you're doing, stop it." And so I was very upset and hurt. So I went back home, looked in the mirror, and for the first time, I said, I am dying. I was down to 110 pounds.
Mercy.
I didn't know, I was dying. I didn't know it. Only thing I knew was that I wanted to be with this group I had connected with, and this high that seemed to null all the pain and frustration that I'd been suffering most of my life, And when I was on that little trek, I felt no emotion. I had no feelings about acting or theater or film or music. I was dead inside.
Wow.
Until Paul Mooney, that's his name, Paul Mooney, the comedian. He was working with some of the great people in Hollywood. He was a writer, comedian himself. So when I looked in the mirror and discovered the reality of what was, that's when things changed for me. Because for about a year, I experienced this downfall. I was feeling sorry for myself and what I had lost so much money and things of that sort. You know, and it got worse when I was more under the spell with these partiers in Hollywood. Very famous people. Well, they had millions of dollars where I was losing, you know. So I had to face the fact and come back home to Grandma and tell her exactly, and she let me know I had to get off of that run, that journey, that path, because I was still be killing myself. And when I finally faced the fact, that's when life began to mean something again.
Wow.
For me, you know.
Wow.
But I almost died. I almost died.
Wow. I mean, it took. It's interesting that it took in a sense, the money to create the type of depression that would almost sort of take your life, as opposed to earlier on, you know, having to deal with rape and the sexual escapade of Hollywood and making it.
Yeah.
It took the money that actually brought you to that grinding halt. Why do you think that was? Why do you think that was?
Because I found that money didn't bring me happiness at all. Money only made me want more money, and it was more frustrating to prove that I could get it. As far as have warm feelings inside and being satisfied, I was not. It only made me look around and say, okay, Tom Jones or whoever else is doing this, I want to do it. That too, I want to make this much money. And I bought a beautiful home, and I had to sell it, you know, and things like that, because it was impossible for me to keep up. And I did a lot of things, you know, but I wasn't happy. Then I had nightmares of my childhood, because I was raped at 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, I was raped by a neighbor, was a white guy, that raped me as well. And
Mercy.
Big Ben. Yeah. And my father was an alcoholic, and he watched me being raped, and while he was drinking, getting drunk. And I called for help, and he didn't help me. He sat there with his bottle while I was pulled into an outhouse, you know, because we didn't have indoor toilets. And so this Big Ben, who was about 6'3" or 4", huge giant, pulled me into the outhouse and tore me apart with his penis. You know,
Mercy.
So I was ill. I was in pain for 3 weeks.
Mercy.
You know, bleeding and in pain. And I couldn't tell my mother or my grandmother at all, because I was so upset about it. So
Mercy.
With my father, but I had to confront my father once, and he denied it happened, and that's the way he left the family, because
Mercy.
I was going crazy. It was amazing.
Mercy.
You know?
Mercy.
It was painful. You know, it was painful.
I mean, you know, you know, we look at these periods, and we've heard a lot about various periods about, you know, growing up black, rich or poor.
Yes.
These stories that are still haunting children today.
Oh yes.
You know, and for some reason, I'm not sure if I could say more so or not. You know, but it seems like it would be more so known now of how much it was back then, as we thought it's something that's just becoming a phase of what happened today, and especially within, you know, interracially happening with our young black males from white males.
Right, because this happened in the 30s, the late 30s. You know, I was only 6 years old. You know, and I went after it happened. My mother says, what's wrong with you at the dinner table? I said, oh, nothing. I got a headache. You know, I made excuses. You know, like a typical 6-year-old. No, she said, you have a cold? I said, no, I just have a little headache. And I would go and stay in my room and just lie down, and I would have nightmares. You know, I'd wake up in the morning and sweat, and looking around the room and things of that sort. Or when I saw the man who did it to me, I would go in another direction. But I saw him murdered eventually. I saw he was knifed. When he was in a fight, and I saw him from my bedroom window. The man who raped me was killed right in front of my eyes.
Mercy.
In my bedroom window. It was, and that scene, or that scene, watching that, witnessing that, never left my memory at all.
Was
It was
was
always
it
there.
was it as much, and in Hollywood, the within the black community, was it as the same within the black
Yes.
community doing it to each
Oh
other?
yes, yes. Because all of these frustrated artists, actors, musicians, they were just as involved with sexual confrontations and parties as the white community, you know. So no matter where I turned, once I got to Hollywood,
Mercy.
there was always somebody with their unzipping their pants, or attacking the actress, or the young girls, and because they felt this was the only way to get a role, get a part in a play, or even a small part in a movie or whatever, they just did what they had to do, and pretended it never happened, but it did happen, you know. It was quite a revelation about the realities of the world, especially when you're terribly young, you know.
What?
But for me, from an early age of 6 years old, it disturbed me, it bothered me. It was still shocking, but I dealt with it on the level that I had to because of survivability.
Survival.
And yes.
After your Grammy now, life after Grammy, 10 years, 18 years, 15 years ago now, it would be.
Yes.
What has Michael been doing? Because what he had to reconfigure, he gets the high of his life in getting a Grammy.
Yes.
And so now, what's the reconfiguration? What has Michael been doing?
Well, it really started in San Francisco, really in a big way, because while I was up there in San Francisco getting the PhD, one of the professors of Dominican heard me perform in San Francisco. He says, "I'm going to write a play, a musical for you." I said, "Oh, fine." I said, "Okay." People say that. You know how people are when they see you perform. I said, "Oh, great." His name was Jeff Nishimuro, a Japanese guy. And he says, "Well, give me your phone number, Michael, because I want to let you know how things are going with the idea, with the show." I said, "Okay, fine." And so I did the show, and about a week later, I got a call from Jeff Nishimuro. He says, "I want you to look at something, a script." I said, "What do you mean a script?" He said, "I'm working on a script for your play, Chasing the Blues. I'm writing a play for you. It's with music, and you're going to have to write the music, but I'll write the book, the story." And I said, "You must be crazy." He says, "Come over to my office and I'll show you how crazy I am." So the next day I went to his office. He said, "Look," and I looked, I glazed over the script, and I said, "This is good stuff." He says, "Well, it's for you. We're going to introduce you in San Francisco as the star of this Chasing the Blues." I said, "You are kidding." I said, "Dear God, well, I was overwhelmed, let's face it." And within weeks he had finished it. He says, "You're going to have to write your songs for it, because you've got to have songs with this character." And I said, "Okay." So I wrote the songs, about 5 songs for the musical, and he wrote the story. And it was a cast. It was a wonderful little cast. And we opened in San Francisco and got fantastic ratings. It got, oh my God, the critics loved it, And I got a lot of publicity, etc. And people from, from Dominican University supported. They were always there. "Yay, Michael, we applauded me when they should not have applauded. They applauded. They act like damn fools, And I said, I wish these people would never come here, because they were so proud that I was up there. And anytime I was on stage, they applauded when they never should have applauded. It was something else. And after that, I decided to write a book, and I talked about my experiences and the rapes and all the things I had to survive and growing up, and understanding the kind of world I was living in, and all that kind of thing. Then I was doing a radio show in San Francisco as well, a daily radio show with Barry Folk, whom I met on tour at one time in Atlanta, Georgia. And so he said, "I want you as my co-host, Michael." So I was on the air for several years with Barry Folk, and KDIA radio, and also Berkeley, because they asked me to teach a class at Berkeley, the theater. and it talked about also lectured about my experiences growing up and how I survived. Kept on going. Because I was older. Let's face it, I was older than everybody on campus. I had to acknowledge it because I was.
Yes.
And so the doors opened for me just because of being able to survive and able to accomplish the things I did. I was no great talent, but I was a talent that was marketable. And I tried to keep on going no matter what. I think that had a lot to do with people sort of gravitating to me. The people in Hollywood went down because they saw me grow up. I was by myself. I didn't have a family to support every move I made. I had to make those moves myself and connect with people whom I believed could help me. And I didn't hesitate to hang on to somebody, say, I need help. Please help me. And give me a chance. And they said, okay, why not? And when the why not led to other why nots, So I was extremely lucky because I persisted. I decided that I wanted to be. And I thought of my early days in Morton, Pennsylvania, and what I experienced, with my father, with the rape and the high school and the bigotry that I had to really survive under, All those things gave me dimension, gave me layers of survivability. Sometimes you have to go through hell to enjoy the outcome of the final day.
I hear you. Tell me something.
And it's nothing.
What is there outstanding for you that you feel you need to accomplish now that maybe is unfinished business or unfinished, or the thing you wish you would do there? You got some people who all of a sudden, 98 and they're getting the part of their life in a James Bond movie, or you know what I mean? What is there for Michael St. John to say, hey, you know what? If in this dash I need to make sure I do this or that, or get this or get that.
That's not difficult at all to enunciate, because what I want most is to do something that will open doors for other people like the Michael St. John. A lot of the kids and young people, even older people, don't realize their talent because they don't get an opportunity. And they don't have the energy or the urge or the kind of things that will drive that possibly I have. Not that many people have that kind of drive to succeed. They need people to help them. There's no sin. Some people need help, advice, a little push, a door open a little bit to show their wares. And this is what I want to accomplish. This is why I have a TV pilot up right now called Studio House that Paramount Studios is considering. I'm very happy about that. And Netflix they're having a meeting about it as well. And my play, based on my book, Hollywood Through the Back Door. I feel sin coming on with music, and we hope that it will make its way to Broadway. That means it's an open door for actors, musicians, dancers, choreographers, and people like that. And so I want to be the person who can open doors in my last years. Let's face it, these are my last years. I have to face it. And so I want to make darn sure I leave something to make it easier for the person next behind me or who's surviving my stay here on this planet. It means so much to me. I think about it every day, every night. And when I work on a project, or I'm writing my columns, or I'm writing a story, or working on a song, a musical, or whatever, I'm thinking about what this could do for that artist that I've heard or I know is out there waiting to be discovered, to be given an opportunity to show that they can really survive among them in the rat race of as well. It's important. Vitally important.
Well said. You've seen the latest thing. I mean, there's this whole breakthrough now that people look at Hollywood, in spite of what Bill has gone through and a few others, but it seems pale as opposed to what you've been through. But because voluntarily doing that for yourself, looking at the Black Panther movie, looking at the Spike Lees and these people within the Hollywood context, looking at the movies that are not being made, but everybody now seemingly believing that there's this huge change within Hollywood because of a movie like Black Panther. What is your view on that? And have you paid much attention to what's going on now in reference to Black Panther now being this sort of vanguard, and then all of a sudden you've seen, Spike Lee, who you haven't really heard a lot from when it comes to Black Panther, by the way, but now he has a movie on the block. So, what is your take on the whole Black Panther narrative that's out there about Hollywood now, recognizing black have, the draw of power?
I'm going to tell you something. Hollywood hasn't recognized a cotton-picking thing.
Mercy.
Because when we had Stormy Weather, Cabin in the Sky, when we had Home of the Brave with James Edwards being the leading man, when we had all these other movies, Pinky with Ethel Waters, Member of the Wedding with Ethel Waters, and Nat King Cole appeared in things, and they had other movies, and the black community always said, this is it. No, it's not. This is Hollywood, run by people who see an opportunity for a project that can make money, but they still look at you as the person of color. And the reality of that was shocked to me very clearly by an agent from William Morris Agency, a very famous agency here around the world, really. And they said, well, sometimes a black movie or a black actor or will make money, but it's them for the moment. It's staying for the moment. And what most blacks think, this is going to change things. Those guys are not going to change things at all. It'll go for a few things and a few really low produced films or shows, but that's about it. They don't get the first class of production thing, because the guys who produced that film, it was done on a very minimal budget, no matter what. And they will always run to that aspect of filming or in the theater. You will never get the respect of producing a show like The Whites are getting. And that's the reality. And no matter what kind of name you have, this is why so many black stars commit suicide. They go into drugs or alcohol, because they realize, even though they have the $3 million mansion, that they just have a $3 million mansion, but if they don't get the kind of job or assignment that really pays them millions of dollars, they're going to have to get rid of that $3 million mansion and live in a condo again, or an apartment.
Mercy.
Because it takes money. You got to continuously make money. This is some of the great white stars have told me. Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and all the people I knew, I mean, all of them. Marlon Brando, he says, boy, I work because I can command them a couple $1 million now, but I need to work to keep my mansion. Because you have a place that has 40 bedrooms or 30 bedrooms or whatever, and all over a hillside, and acreage. I mean, that takes money. It takes people to run it. It means you got to keep working yourself to pay for these people. That couple $1 million is nothing today. But unfortunately, a lot of our black stars and take a couple $1 million and think that's going to be it. It is wonderful, and it's great that they can achieve that level of earnings. But the reality is that you got to be consistently doing that. Otherwise, they will fall on their butts and get right back where they was in Compton or other places around the country. And that's not something I'm taking lightly to say, because I've seen most of them really decline as far as they've lived, and they always say, well, I live and have to be very conservative. I have to think about tomorrow. Well, they should have thought about tomorrow when they make $3 or $4 million, because $3 or $4 million today, especially, will take you so far, but not that far. They'll take you because what your lifestyle changes, because people expect you to get the mansion. Okay. People expect you to have the cars.
Right.
They expect you to jump on the plane to go to Europe.
Right.
To do all the things, to have the parties, to maintain that status of stardom. If you don't, you fall out of touch with the people who command the industry. You want to run with the people who have the money easily. And many of these people forget that reality, and that's why many of them, end up with 3 or 4 marriages on drugs and things like that because they don't know how to survive. You know,
Well,
it's a sad thing, really a sad thing.
today, as we wrap this through, uh,
Yes.
obviously, you have the I Feel Seeing coming on, coming up. Is that also close to being completed?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, they're having problems in Atlanta with I Feel Sin coming on. The lead man, the lead in the play, had a terrible accident in Atlanta, so in Texas, and so he's in the hospital. And then I get notice that the theater that we're supposed to open up had wire ring problems. It caught on fire. So between the theater and the lead in the hospital, we have to delay the opening for the play. I said, what else is going to happen? I mean, this is a test that, I'm going to tell you something. As long as I've been in this business, it's always been a challenge to survive to the moment of applause. It has been a challenge, you know. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed with Paramount and the TV pilot Studio House. I said, dear God, please God, don't screw up with me about this because I'm getting upset, you know. So far I'm getting messages from the students saying, Michael, calm down, everything is going to be all right. Because now, I'll be quite honest with you, Studio House will open tremendous doors for other people as well. Because you need actors, you need people, people with expertise and all those makeup and script and directors, assistant directors, social producers and things. I think we need that. That means work for people, plus actors, white and black. So I'm hoping, keep my fingers crossed that that won't screw up as well. But they said, keep the faith, the play. We'll get through this. Mike, you've been through hell. You will. I said, why me? And somebody said, why not? So I have to face certain realities, But I believe everything's going to be all right, Because in my career, in my life, things have always turned out. I've gone through hell. I had to face things that most people will fall apart. I said, no. One thing that will fall apart would be my high blood pressure or something like that, or my shingles will return, or whatever, all the things that people go through, But things will be all right.
Is your book on sale on Amazon, or where's your book for sale?
The publishing house closed down back east, so that's the problem with the book. It would have to be picked up by another publisher, I'm told, to continue. They said that wouldn't be a problem once everything. The movie or the TV series, Studio House gets in to go, and if the play, I Feel Sin coming is moved into a film or even gets to Broadway. They said then the book can be picked up from another publisher. And since it's been such a success with the home publisher in Baltimore, they shouldn't have difficulty at all. So there you are. At every step I've taken, you will realize that it's been like I've had to have my fists up and ready to punch through. It's amazing. Maybe it's the way that it was all planned that way as far as God is concerned. And I said, we're going to make you appreciate every step you make.
Every step.
And I said,
I feel you.
Yeah, and believe me, I do. But it doesn't stop me from all the difficulty and the problems I had to try to keep up there. And this made me stronger, more knowledgeable, and more faith in that it can be done. And if you stick with it, if your dreams, if you know what you want, no matter what, if you don't let people daunt it and destroy the things that you know you were born to do, then you'll be fine. It won't be cakes and ice cream, but there'll be a little bumps in there, little nuts, but you'll still make it.
How do you keep yourself so youthful, Mike? I mean, sometimes it seems like you have to be hanging around young people, or how do you keep yourself so youthful?
I look at pictures of my grandfather and my grandmother, and I said, no, I will not be like grandma and grandpa. I'm going to keep on going because they enjoy saying, oh, it's almost, they used to talk, well, when I'm gone, I can't do what I used to do. I said, no, I will not sound like that. But sometimes I must admit, sometimes I feel like saying that. But I look in the mirror, I said, no, you're not, guy. You're not going to join your classmates in high school and college, because when I see them, I hardly recognize them. They said, Mikey, you haven't changed that much. I said, what do you mean? You still sound the way you sound, and you really have not changed that much. I said, thank you very much. Because there's certain things that you refuse to accept. And I refuse to go down like everybody else that I've known all my life. And be honest about it.
Yeah. I just looked at it. Go ahead.
Well, most of my friends are very young. They're 18 and 23 and 30 years old, and they really come around me. They call me. They stick with me all the time. They ask for advice, and when I need something, they're there for me. I don't know why, because I boss them around and I give them a hell about life. They seem to enjoy it. And I've been very lucky. Very lucky. I'm lucky to meet you, to connect with you, and so many other people that seem to listen and to talk to me and ask me questions to help me understand life much better, because that's when you do understand life better when you're able to share things. Because while you're sharing, things become clear, and you see yourself in a more realistic level or dimension. So it's important to say hello to your brothers and sisters around the world.
Which part of this whole Hollywood experience, from acting, TV, singing, composing, which part of this experience is your favorite, your most memorable piece that you would say, you know what, that's the one, that area of that genre I wouldn't give up for the world?
Be on radio. So I wouldn't have to fix up. I don't have to fix my hair. I don't have to do a damn thing except to sit in front of the microphone and be crazy and to tell people what I'm thinking and being honest. I'll be honest about that, because I was on radio for 25 years. Syndicated all over the place. And it gave me tremendous opportunities. But I made a lot of appearances, yes. But be on radio, you were so safe. I could look evil in the morning and sit in front of the microphone when it was time to say it was airtime. I could smile and go through Michael St. John's big act of being very much a little guy they like to have in their neighborhood, and people eat it up. They like it because I was being honest about it. And I would talk about things they wanted to talk about and discuss things that were timely. Sometimes I'd be crazy and outrageous, but people said that's Michael St. John and the big mouth. We love hearing, and that's great. And it was good market for building as well, too, because people all over the country, because I would travel and tour in Chicago, Detroit, Boston, Atlanta, Miami, San Francisco, and Canada. I got all over the place, talking. They wanted me to talk about the old days and the things I experienced and what was timely at the moment, And I just told them how I feel about things quite honestly. Talk about personalities. And, if I liked them, fine. If I didn't like them, I was honest about it. I said I was an asshole. People said, Michael, why are you so outspoken? I said, because my grandma is outspoken, my grandfather was outspoken, my mother definitely is outspoken. So what can I do growing up in that kind of environment, Just being myself.
That's
Teachers taught me, being myself. And I know sometimes I was sounded ridiculous, but most people, have that experience of being ridiculous. That's being human. No one's perfect. There's no utopian human being. We all make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes, and it's exciting. We become to the reality of what should be instead of what you think it is. I've had experiences like that, and I thought certain things were, and I discovered through experience or listening to somebody else, there wasn't. And I thank God that I was intelligent enough to say, okay, I got to change my idea, the way I think, the way I do things about this issue. Because there's always somebody going to know a little bit more than you do. And once you realize that have that kind of realistic point of view, that's when you grow and grow. And it's when people take to you and want to be around you because you share. You've got your good moments, your bad moments, etc., etc.
How much hours of sleep do you get a night now, Mike? How much time do you sleep?
About 4 hours.
4 hours?
Yeah, because I wake up thinking. And I wake up turning on the news, MSNBC or some other news report, because I thrive on the news, know what's going on in different parts of the world. You know, I can check out what's happening in England and France and Germany and Japan, and because of the net, the internet, you can get those kinds of hookups. You can find out what's going on, and everything is in English. You know, so you've got a chance to really listen to. And even in other languages, I know enough about French or German or whatever, I can easily pick up what they're saying anyhow. So it helps me to grow constantly as well. You know, so there always is, you should never stop learning. You should expose yourself to new events and new activity and new people, and take in as much as you need to feel more, to fulfill yourself. You know, I think it's very important. It's very vital. And in other words, education doesn't stop at college with a cotton picking degree. Education is stopping you dead 6 feet under or whatever.
I hear you.
You can't think. You know what I mean?
Learning. Well, it looks like it's getting light there now. Looks like
okay.
It looks like it's getting light out there. It's 6 o'clock out there now, right?
Oh yes, I can see through my bedroom window. The light is coming through.
Yeah, the light's starting to come through. I can see a little crack of it there. Well, Michael, wow, you know, not too many interviews. I mean, thank you for sharing your, you know, a piece of your journey. I'm sure, you know, the book couldn't contain the type of experiences that you've had and still having in your life and life's journey inside of Hollywood. I definitely would like to get my hands on your book. So I definitely want to get my hands on your book.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm gonna try my best to see if I can get a copy for you.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Because when you read the book, you will say, "Oh my God!" A lot of people are saying that. They said, "Michael, we finally were able to get your book, and we are amazed." Some people said they were crying. Some of the women said they were crying because they could relate to some of the things. And I think it's something that is nothing new. Because a lot of people experience a lot of those things, but they don't write it down, or they admit it to the world.
Exactly.
And I decided to say, let it all hang out, because what I went through it was horrible in many ways, but other people can relate to that horror as well, and they survive. And they will say, thank God I wasn't alone out there, you know, experiencing these moments of temptation or whatever.
I got to ask.
We're all alike.
I got to ask you, because you put this down in the book. Did any of the people that are still alive that offended you or abused you or anything like that ever come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry?
Oh yeah, I got notes and phone calls that says, Michael, you know, at my age, I thought about you as at 12 or 13 or 14 years old. I'm going to tell you that I admire you, and I wish you well.
Did some of the offenders call you and say they're sorry?
A couple guys did. Yeah.
Okay.
A couple guys did. But they were in their 80s, you know.
Okay.
And things like I listened to them, and I said, well, that's how life is. Right. You know, I can't live the rest of my days resenting them. I resented what happened, but I didn't allow it to control my movement forward,
right,
or cry about it or complain about it. It happened, and I tried to use it as a fuel to keep on moving on up.
Yes.
You know, and doing things. You know, sometimes you need that kind of impetus in order to keep moving ahead.
Right.
Because it forces you to say, okay, this happened, but I'm not going to let it have to stop me. You know, and in a way, it's a blessing, because it gives you the mobility to keep on going, keep on proving to yourself that you could make it, that nothing was going to stop you, no matter the pain.
Yeah.
Frustration and the hurt is still in remnants, it's still there, and the subconscious is still there, because you wake up having nightmares sometimes, I do, or dreams, or when I'm walking to the store, I see something that reminds me of the old days or somebody, and I think about what happened in my life, but it doesn't stop me. But it's like meals, food, that keeps me moving ahead, you know.
Same
And it makes me want to fight evil. And it makes me want to fight evil. I can't stand for someone to hurt other people. I go crazy.
Yes.
And I stand for people take advantage of other people. I'll just jump in the ring. Even though I can't, I'm not a fighter. I will roll my fists up and I will plunge ahead because I can't stand anyone to hurt somebody else, especially a child. If I see someone hurting a child, I go nuts. You know, really, I can't stand someone hurting a child. No way. Or a woman. I can't stand a man beating a woman. It bugs the hell out of me. Because my father did that to my mother. And I watched the blood. I watched her being hurt tremendously. And,
Yes.
every day, every holiday meant blood for me.
Mercy.
You know, my father would come home drunk and beat my mother up and scar her or make her bleed, and she would cry out. You know, I was so young I couldn't help, and he would hit me if I tried to help my mother. So it was an atmosphere or environment of brutality, and that's one reason I had to get away. And that was the background that I stemmed from. So it has affected everything I've ever done in my life, the way I write, the way I perform, the way I deal with people, the day I deal with surviving every day of my being. Because I think of what happened to me all my life, the beginning of my life, since I was born in the 30s.
Well, you've done an amazing job, kept an amazing spirit, and driven on, and shared it, you know, so that you haven't had to carry the load totally by yourself in so many instances. You know, a lot of people don't have, like you said, don't get that chance, but you managed to express it and share it with us. So I look forward to getting that book. I need that book.
Okay.
I need that
I think
book.
you'll enjoy it.
I need that book. Trust me. So, Mike, thank you very much. We look forward to hearing about the release for the show happening. I feel seeing coming on with Wanda Rayner, who is our local girl that you have casted in that, and you have Florence. Florence.
Yes, she's playing my mother in the play. She's playing Grace, who was my mother.
She's playing Grace.
My mother was very much like Wanda. She was very attractive, talented, a businesswoman, and she was a thinker. She was very outspoken, like your son here. You know, because I take after my mother. My mother would go to the edge of the world to protect somebody and voice her opinion. So I'm not too a distance from my mother's personality, really.
And you have the other star from the Good Times, I think, or the Jeffersons. What's her name?
Marla Gibbs.
Marla Gibbs, right? You have Marla Gibbs casted as well.
Well, Marla Gibbs won't be in the play because she'll probably be in the movie aspect of the play.
Okay.
Because Marla was signed, she had to get away because Marla was signed to do a TV thing. So she had to get away. Because Marla and I are been friends for over 40 years. So she's a great friend. So we had to get, what's her name? Donna Allen from The Voice. She had won something from The Voice. And she has a Mahalia Jackson kind of sound.
Okay.
And boy, and she's singing a couple of the songs that I composed for the play. And boy, when she opens her mouth to sing, the whole world stands still. So that in itself is going to be an experience. And Wanda is a great singer as well. So between the two of them, and she's playing the grandmother, Donna Allen, and of course, Wanda's playing the mother. So it's going to be exciting once it gets aboard. And Leon Isaac Kennedy, of course, is playing the father. And he's marvelous. He's been a friend of mine for over many years as well. So I have a lot of friends in this play with music. So it's a dream. It's a dream come true. Frankly.
Give thanks, and I hope it comes to fruition.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Thank you very much, Mike. Once again, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for sharing. You could say your parting words to our Bermuda audience.
As like Duke Ellington says, and I say on my radio show, I love you all quite madly.
Give thanks. Talk to you soon. Peace be with you.
Okay.
And enjoy your day as it begins. And
same to you.
And have a good one. I'll catch up with you later to do the wrap up.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for being with us here on Fresh TV, your best TV.
Okay.
All right. Michael St. John, people right out there with us, who has allowed us to look in on his life and share with us the fullness of working and making it in Hollywood. And for those young people and people who are looking at the life of the actor, don't think that a lot has changed. Not a lot has changed, by way of, one, your complexion, what it takes to get ahead, and the type of tenacity that you are going to need, and fortitude, dignity. Don't let go of your dignity, who you are, because but know where you want to go, and whatever you choose to get to where you want to get to, remember, it's your choice, okay? And you have to live with your choices regardless. So peace be with you all. I hope this has been a very fruitful interview for you guys to look in on and share with Michael. And we'll be back again tomorrow. It's Club Wednesdays on Fresh TV, the best TV. And we'll see you then. I'm out.
Okay.